Okay, hello. Hi, we're here for the August 9th Board of Education board meeting, and we're going to start with closed session. Are there any public comments? Okay, seeing that there are none, we're going to go ahead and go into closed session and then return for regular session. Thank you. Okay, welcome. We are here for, regular session of the August 9th, 2022 board meeting. We will start with an announcement about language access.
Buenas tardes a todos. Contamos con interpretación simultánea al español aquí. Si lo desean, y también tendremos interpretación simultánea al español a través de Zoom y de idioma de señas americano. We'll have American Sign Language interpretation for those of you who wish to listen to the interpretation. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Maldonado, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Please stand and face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And for the announcement of closed session action, the board, on number 1, the board approved the final settlement agreement and general release dated July 2022, Special Education Division OAH case number 2022-060622, 4 unanimous and 0. With one.
4 in favor, 1 absent.
I'm sorry?
4 in favor, 1 absent.
4 in favor.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. Four in favor and 1 board member absent. And now we will go ahead and go to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Board President Munoz. Good evening, everyone. Board members, it has been a very busy week for us here at District Office and as our school site leaders prepare to start school next week on Friday, August 19th. To begin with, we would like to welcome and finally formally acknowledge our student board member, Kavya Suresh, who will now be receiving the oath of office by Board President Munoz. If you can both go to the podium so that we can administer your oath of office. Please join me in welcoming and clapping for Ms. Resh.
Okay. I, Kavya Suresh, do solemnly swear
I, Kavya Suresh, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you very much and congratulations.
Kavya, would you like to say a few words before I go into my next report? Okay, thank you. Congratulations again and welcome officially to the days. Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Dan DuPont, the new principal for Santa Barbara Junior High School. As you know, we selected him last month, and we didn't get a chance to have him speak, so please join us. Welcome, Mr. DuPont.
There we go. Thank you. I just want to start off by saying thank you for the faith that you've placed in me, Dr. Maldonado, Dr. Becchio, cabinet, board members. I am the very proud principal of Santa Barbara Junior High School. It's been my dream to be the principal of a school that serves as the hub of the East Side community. And as it's been a quiet time on campus during the week over the summer, but on the weekends, I drive by and that place is filled with people playing basketball and people on the fields, and that is exactly the kind of school where I want to work at. I know the school I'm acutely aware that I'm the fourth principal in 4 years, and it's my number one goal that I want to be that calm, consistent presence that will stick around for a while. The principal at Santa Barbara Junior High School fits my professional goals at this point in my life. It fits my personal goals at this point in my life. It is where I want to be. If Dr. Maldonado and Dr. Becchio had given me the keys to the district and said, Dan, you can pick whatever school you could pick, I would have picked Santa Barbara Junior. The program that will have my unending support for as long as I'm there is the dual language immersion program. Not just because my daughter is entering first grade at McKinley, and she will 6 years from now be a Santa Barbara Junior, old habits die hard, Santa Barbara Junior High School Condor, but because becoming bilingual changed the course of my life in nothing but positive ways. I was not raised in a bilingual household. I did not go through dual language immersion schools. But as a teenager, I decided to start taking Spanish. And I arrived at UC Santa Barbara, and I was a marine biology major. And I soon discovered I didn't like didn't like dissecting things. So what else was I good at? I was good at Spanish. So I'll become a Spanish teacher. And that ignited my passion for public education, which in 2014 gave me this crazy idea that I might make a good administrator one day. And it's not that I speak Spanish that I'm sitting in front of you, but speaking Spanish opened the doors that gave me this possibility. And I want that story to be what the Santa Barbara Junior community hears. That's our job. Our job is to keep as many doors open for our students as possible. We want to have them have as many unlimited possibilities as we can, and as long as I am principal there, that is going to be my number one job, and I thank you very much for the faith that you've placed in me.
Mr. DuPont, ¿no vas a decir nada en español entonces? We were translating for you. I'm just teasing you. But thank you so much. And yes, we did interview Mr. DuPont in Spanish because he was going to be taking over this position covering a dual language, and he does have beautiful Spanish. Thank you so much and welcome. And next we have Ms. Suzette McCormick, who is the new principal for Santa Barbara Community Academy.
Hello, hello, hello. See, I'm in elementary, so you can say hello, hello, hello. And cabinet members, I am so excited and honored to be chosen to be the principal of Santa Barbara Community Academy. I'm so excited to be working on the site where I spent 3 wonderful years at La Cumbre Junior High School back in the day when it was grades 7 through 9. I am a local Santa Barbarian. I went to Monroe School, La Cumbre Junior High School, and Santa Barbara High School, go Dons, and graduated from UCSB. I know a lot about this city, the folks in this city, and it is such my pleasure to be able to teach and give back to the community that basically raised me. To watch the students grow, come back and visit, see them around town, say hello. Miss McCormick, how are you? It's really life-changing. Santa Barbara Unified School District is part of my past. My father worked here for 35 years in the basement downstairs as the manager of office services. So honest and truly, I really grew up at Santa Barbara City Schools at the time, now Santa Barbara Unified School District. This was the first phone number I ever knew. And coming back here is coming home. And going to Santa Barbara Community Academy and working with the students is as natural as me speaking. So I am so honored to be given the pleasure and the opportunity to work with our students to grow more learners and to create a very large footprint with the Santa Barbara Community Academy Alligators. Thank you.
Thank you for stepping up in this leadership role and taking on that big responsibility. We really appreciate you. Next, board members, I really want to thank the teachers, the principals, the students who participated with me at the Fiesta Float on Friday. It was my first time ever in Santa Barbara for Fiesta, and I had heard about it since I've arrived. I'm already planning my future Fiesta outfits because I just fell in love with the tradition, the identity, the culture, the family feeling of these events throughout the week. I want to do a special shout out and thanks to Miss Anna Pilhofer who helped organize that whole float, along with the students from VADA who helped decorate it. Mr. Mark Alvarado who jumped in and did all the music that kept us dancing. In fact, we even had a little dance-off with the Garcia Dance Company towards the end. I'm not sure that we won that one. And of course, the parent, Dawson Kelly, our former student board member, Kavya Suresh, the football quarterback for Santa Barbara High School, Abel Renteria, Jamie Cruz, the student ISB president, parents, Socorro Ramirez, Monica Carmona, Manuela Fierros, Rebecca Borgiolo, the PTSA president for Santa Barbara High, Ms. Gabby Cabrera, one of our staff members, Dr. Lynn Sheffield, Principal Elise Simmons, Mr. Dare Holdren, and Principal Bill Woodard, who was excited to be here. And we really, really appreciate it. And of course, Ms. Susette McCormick as well. This week, we're also very inspired by some of the professional learning that's going on with our teachers. And for the first time, we're going to have a Classified Staff Institute this Thursday and Friday, led by Ms. Hernandez and Dr. Becchio. And it's going to be taking place in various locations, the beautiful Santa Barbara Zoo, the Ealing's Performing Center, Cabrillo Pavilion. And we're going to be continuing to build coherence across our school and management leaders as we embody the hashtag We Are Unified theme for the year. We also had this summer 38 teachers, school administrators, and counselors across our school district attend the 2022 Avid Summer Institute in San Diego. They participated in 3 days that focused on bringing the best instructional and leadership strategies for student engagement into our classrooms and schools. And we are very grateful for this partnership also with Santa Barbara City College and dual enrollment. And they hosted over 100 of our peak incoming 9th grade students for a week of learning, team building, and college experiences for the peak 8th grade SBC Summer Bridge program. I do also want to mention that we opened the 6th Peak Learning Center at Goleta Valley Junior High School on August 22nd. This will be opening and will operate until 6:30 p.m. with dinner services for students provided by our food services department. And last, I have a couple of unsung hero stories. We did receive a note from one of our employees who's also a parent at Goleta Valley Junior High School. He commended Sonia Spencer as she greeted them warmly and helped them with filling out their forms to process their student for school. And the parent wanted us to thank Sonia Spencer for making SBUSD proud and for showing the spirit of We Are Unified as we live our values of community, respect, integrity, and trust. And Mr. Woodard, principal of Dos Pueblos, and I also received a beautiful letter from a parent writing to express their deep and heartfelt gratitude to the teachers, counselors, and coaches at Dos Pueblos High School for the care and concern shown to their student Amai Edgar for the class of 2022 while he was a student there. And a special thanks to Ms. Susie Stone for going above and beyond. Again, thank you, Susie Stone, for making us SBUSD proud. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maldonado. I'd like to, first of all, start off with the board comments, with thanking all of you who are here and at home for helping us as we prepare to start for the school year. Bienvenidos a todos. The teachers, administrators, cabinet members, parents, students, student board members, that as we prepare for this fall, I know that it hasn't been the summer off. It's been, a lot of hard work behind everything. I'm seeing Ms. Hernandez here with transportation and, finance and on and on. So thank you all, first of all, for that. I enjoyed seeing the Santa Barbara Unified float in the Fiesta Parade, which I think is the first historic time for that. Being born and raised here, I believe it's probably the first time, and appreciated everybody's energy. And I watched from home on television and enjoyed the theme, Todos Unidos en Familia. We are all family here in this together. And thank you to all that participated in that. With that, I will go ahead and go on to Ms. Sims-Moten.
Thank you, President Muniz. Good evening, everyone. It's good to be here, and I really just want to echo and not repeat the comments the President just said, because I echo those comments and feel strongly. Thank you for your work throughout the summer to get us prepared for this upcoming year and getting us ready, moving forward on what we need to do, supporting our students, supporting you, and having this district we are united in terms of that, having that be the forefront of what we do. Also, as we're preparing our students for a world that's yet to be created. So how do we do that going forward? We have to be united in that fact going forward. But I think in 2016, Ms. Capps was probably here. We didn't have a float, but we walked the parade. So we had a few blisters and whatever, but we, and I think they had a float maybe the year before. Okay, so then we've been represented. So, but it was good to see you. I watched it from from home. I was trying to balance that and tennis. I'm a tennis lover, sorry, but I made sure I saw you guys go through it, and I saw you guys having a really good time on the float, and saw our student representatives, Kavya. So just appreciate that and get that warm feeling of where we got to do and the hard work that it's going to take us to be successful in this district. And I really just want to lend my thank you for that, and looking forward to working alongside you as well.
Thank you, Madam President. I just have a couple comments leading off with how inspired I was by the opening remarks of Ms. McCormick and Mr. DuPont. So welcome, and we're here for you. We're rooting for you and your students. So thank you for being here and for sharing with us your enthusiasm. Because summer's winding down, I just want to acknowledge the district's participation this summer with Summer Nights at La Cumbra. The 6-week experiment with the city of Santa Barbara, where Santa Barbara Unified was front and center. I went one of the first nights with my family, and it was just incredible to see. These things take a while to take on in the community, but the night I was there, I think they served 150 meals. Kids were out there having fun, and a loud DJ, and I just think these kind of programs are so important, and whenever we're participating and partnering with a city or other entities, it's a good sign for our district. And that brings me to Fiesta. I'll just echo what I just love that Dr. Maldonado, you were so front and present, and others, the district, that float was incredible. I watched it on the news. I watched it a couple times. Just being part of Fiesta this year, I think we all felt just incredibly reignited by our sense of community, and having not had that for a few years, and just I'm glad again that Santa Barbara Unified was right in the thick of it. And lastly, just welcoming our student board member, and we're already friends, and we know you already, and you've already made such important contributions. But I was mindful this evening as you were sworn in as our second student board member, just what a good experiment this has been. And it really, I want to acknowledge the work of Dr. Jackie Reed, our former board member, who had the vision and passion to make this happen. And we now know 1 year in that it's an incredibly invaluable part of our board experience. So thank you to Jackie, and thanks to you, Kavya, for being here.
Ms. Ford?
Good evening. First, I'd like to do my regular report on the emails that the board has received since our last board meeting, which was on July 19th. As a reminder, emails from the community are considered as public comment to the board and acknowledged as such. So there weren't many emails. This is a busy time in everyone's lives, but we received one about the Santa Barbara High School windows, one about universal access or co-seating, as some folks refer to it. COVID protocols for 22-23 was also the subject of one email. Technology used by students was the subject of two emails. And as usual, the board received numerous invitations, informational items, announcements, and sales pitches. But it will also interest everyone, I think, to know that the board also receives a daily roundup of all news reports from around the state on education matters. It's published by the California School Boards Association, and recent topics in the last 3 days have included the teacher shortage across the state and nation, ESSER spending challenges, cell phone use, police on campus, COVID protocols, the impact of COVID on student achievement, enrollment decline, student transportation, and enrollment attendance issues. It sounds very familiar to all of us. I, too, have a couple of pride points to share, and along with everyone here on the dais, I feel like Fiesta this year was a time to really capture our community's desire now to celebrate, to smile, to cheer, and of course our district float did that. I'd like to give a special shout out also to my friend, district employee, and also our own community musical treasure and community leader, Mark Alvarado. I think he made a huge difference, and he does that every day, but also on this float. Also today, I want to share that I met with student board member Kavya and her partner in crime, Isabella, and they have been hard at work during this summer to create a plan for communication and action around district-wide empowerment and engagement of all students. And that conversation alone gave me cause to celebrate, to smile, and to cheer. Thank you.
Okay, and now we will move to the comments of Ms. Resh, our new student board member. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm really excited to be here tonight for my second board meeting, but because I didn't have the chance to really formally introduce myself last meeting, I guess in honor of being sworn in, I'll take the time to do that now. So I'll start with where I'm from. So I'm Kavya Suresh. I'm born and raised in California, Santa Barbara. I said that in the wrong order, but whatever. And I went to elementary school at Foothill, went to La Galena junior high, and then I went to I'm at San Marcos High School, just like my new principal, Mr. Dare Holdren right there. We're twins in that way. And I am sitting here because I wanted to see just how far I could go if I kept taking risks. That's the only reason I'm really here today, is I kept saying yes to things that I knew I had the capacity for, and turns out if you say yes to enough things, you actually get some rewards that come your way. So I am really excited to be here. I have millions and millions of thank yous to give, but I think the first ones that I want to give are to my Amma and Appa, my parents right there, who've always pushed me and who've always been there. Who've always been there for me and never let me give up on myself. I didn't really speak a lot of English until I was 3 years old, but they never once told me no. They always pushed me to achieve my dreams. They made me feel like I was the smartest, brightest, most talented girl in any room that I walked into. And for that, I'm extremely privileged and I'm extremely grateful, so thank you. And I also want to thank my sister, who's in London right now. What a great sister. She's studying, so good for her. I'm proud of her. She's my best friend, my number one cheerleader, my supporter, my rock, my ally, my best person in the whole world. I love her with all my heart, and I am really excited to make SB Unified my new family, because I think we are all in it for each other. We're all in it to win it, and we're all here together. And where I'm going, I have a lot of goals this year as Board Member Ford said. I have a lot of aspirations and a lot of ambitions, but I think the number one thing that I want to practice this year is something I call radical empathy. I think we all need a lot of grace this year. I think we all need a lot of compassion. I think we all need a lot of friendship and kindness this year. So I hope that with my position, I'm able to give that to students across the district, and I'm able to provide a space and support system for them to be authentic, be energetic, but most importantly, be vulnerable when they feel that they need to. And I'm hoping that we will all, in this together, focus on recovery and repair and growth as we enter a year of transformation and hopefully just absolute flourishing and thriving and being the best versions of ourselves that we can be.
Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. We're very proud to have Ms. Resh Kavya join us. Thank you. We will now go on to public comments on non-agenda matters within jurisdiction of the Board of Education. The public has an opportunity for items that are not on the agenda for this evening. Each speaker has 90 seconds each. And Ms. Trujillo, do we have any comments?
Thank you, President Munoz. We do have one request to speak, and that is Roseanne Crawford. Ms. Crawford, can you hear us?
Hi, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Good evening, Board. I would like to give a sincere compliment regarding how you have put back the opportunity to participate and have access for those that are not in a position to attend the board meetings. Santa Barbara County Board of Education is struggling with this now for just putting in an audio recording. And it's really sad, but I want to compliment you for putting it back in and making the process so easy. You simply grab the Zoom link, you request if you want to speak by email and identify what you want to speak on. And then you open your Zoom, follow the meeting, and speak as I'm doing now. This makes a huge difference in including the public in participation. And that is something that they really felt shut out and frustrated for a long time. So I just really want to appreciate all of you for doing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And President Munoz, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. We will now move to the consent agenda to approve the items that are considered routine and not likely to require any discussion. Dr. Maldonado and her staff have recommended that the board approves all the consent agenda items. The board has also had an opportunity to consider and ask questions about these items before tonight. First of all, are there any public comments on consent agenda items? Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Trujillo, do we have any public comments on this?
President Munoz, we do have public comment on this item, and I will start with Roseanne Crawford.
Hi, here I am again. Thank you. I do have an issue with item number 10, the agreement with Corwin, the literacy curriculum. In my opinion, allowing two entities to provide educational material without vetting and allowing teachers and families to participate simply bypasses the process and really ruins any trust in the system. And it goes beyond that. Are any of these materials really free of cost to the district if in fact the results will be subpar? The achievement gap has continued to grow. For example, these materials, if you've looked at them, a teacher holds up a card. The child says pony, when in fact the word was horse. But according to the curriculum, they have learned to read. This is nonsense. I really hope that you will seriously pull this, think about it, discuss it, get your teachers involved, get your parent groups involved, and use curriculum that works and gives a good outcome. And please include the teachers. Thank you very much for your consideration. Not good enough. Our kids deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you, President Munoz. The other speaker is not online. So that concludes our public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Trujillo. We are going to be of the consent agenda, number 6, the approval of 45-day budget update. That will be moved to action for this. And I'd like to know if if there are any items on the consent agenda that require more information, comments, or discussion. Ms. Sims-Moten?
Yes, I just want just to follow up on, I believe it's item 20 with COM. Just in terms of, just a couple questions just for clarification. I know we've been contracting with COM for quite some time. I'm not sure. I know, can you, you're one here. If you can come, Ms. Edison, sorry. Thank you. And so what I'm wondering, I know what we wanted, we had set up an evaluation system for this work or the outcomes of this work, and I'm just wondering, you may or may not know this because this was previous to you coming, so if you need to go find it, that's fine. But I don't recall that we've received that evaluation report of work that we've done with COM. And if it's...
I will have to research that and get back to you with staff that is still here.
Okay, that's fine. And then, so thank you on that. And so the 700,000, is that just for 1 year?
That is a 1-year contract.
Okay. Okay. And so, will our, I'm just trying to wrap myself around this because it says in part of the comment that it's, do we still have students on the waiting list?
There was a waiting list at the end of the year. It's about 30 students on it.
So we have currently 30 students on it right
Yes.
now? Okay. And will we be able to support those 30, or will there still be a waiting list?
Yes, I met with them earlier this week, or last week, I'm sorry, and they were very positive about being able to fill all of their slots for interns.
Okay.
And so they're anticipating that they'll be able to meet the need.
Well, thank you for that. I know that our student board member, Dawson, was really, as long as the board was very concerned about the waiting list for mental health services, so that's good to hear that they'll be able to meet that need. And I would say if there's a point where they feel they don't, you can report back to us so we can kind of know, because oftentimes we're getting, comments from parents and or the community that this waiting list is there, and so we can just kind of monitor that in terms of where we are with that.
Absolutely.
Much appreciate that. Thank you for your
You're
questions.
welcome.
Any other comments on the consent agenda? Ms. Ford or Ms. Capps?
No
Ms. Ford?
comment.
No?
I just wanted to make the motion.
Oh, okay.
As Ms. Sims-Moten knows, I do.
Oh,
May
gosh,
I?
Sorry about that. Ms. Resh, any comments or such? No, okay. Ms. Ford?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in items E2 to E23 minus number 6.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by raising your hand and saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes unanimously. And now we will move to the action agenda, the approval of San Marcos Wellness Facility naming opportunities.
We've asked Principal Holdren and Ms. Alvarez, Dr. Alvarez, to come and speak a little bit to the naming opportunities as we continue to raise money for the Health Academy.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Maldonado, Cabinet. Thanks for having us. Want to start out by saying how extremely proud we are of Kavya for being up there, and I'm also proud that we're both Foothill and La Colina alums, so that's kind of fun. Obviously, you've heard a lot about the building wellness project, and you have done some great work on seeing what's going on. Tonight, we're here to hopefully move forward with some of the fundraising. I am just coming on to the project, as you can imagine, having not been at San Marcos for the past 3 years. My colleague, Dr. Alvarez, is really the expert in the room, and I'd love to have her just say a few words about where we're at, and if you have any questions, that's why we're here. So thank you for having us.
I am shorter than you, Mr. Holdren, so I'm going to move this. Okay. I also want to interrupt to say Kavya is extremely humble. Having known her for the past 3 years, she made such an impact on our campus as a freshman class president from her living room for a year on Zoom. I am so excited to see what you can do here this year. I want your parents to know that as well. Change the culture of our freshmen that year. We have such a successful junior class now. I'm super excited for you. Congratulations. And y'all are lucky. She's brilliant. That being said, yeah, good job, Kavya. That being said, we're presenting to you today a request as the next phase of the Building Wellness campaign. The first was back in January when Dr. Glazer presented the need for the building and the bond matching of the $4.4 million for the $8.8 million project. Since then, we've put together the Building Wellness Campaign Committee and working with the Royal Pride Foundation to start speaking to community members about the project itself and gaining some current of interest. This next phase is now to ask for the approval by the board to ask donors for donations with naming possibilities. That is part of the phase that will conclude with, once we raise the money, one, after we raise $2 million to present to the board that we've raised $2 million to get to $6.4 million and ask for the DSA process to begin. The final phase will be 6 months after completion and keys received by the district to come forward per the board policy for the actual naming of the areas pending the donors that donate to the project. So this phase here is asking for the okay for RPF and the Building Wellness Campaign to move forward with asking donors for potential naming opportunities based on donation amounts as listed.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Alvarez and Mr. Holdren. I've seen that there are no public comments on this. Board members, do you have any questions or discussion? Ms. Sims-Moulton?
Good evening. Thank you, Principal. Welcome, Mr. Holdren and Mr. Alvarez. We've talked back and forth. So I'm glad to see this coming up in our next phase, as Dr. Glazer did bring it to us. Very excited about that, and I believe there are some parents who were also part of that, getting it together. So good to please see that it's going forward. Just had a couple, just a small comment about where it says HCA. Can we say what that is? Is that the Health Community Academy?
That is the Health Careers Academy.
Okay,
correct.
so we can maybe say what that is, just so that for the public they know, and even for me for that, because I kind of was working on it, but I didn't know for sure. And then the last thing I'd like to say, as we're going with this naming process, it would be nice if we have it at a level that everyone could be able to do it. Maybe families can, if we can, particularly in the campaign donor recognition model, where we're down to $1,000. So could we lower that to a little amount, because every little bit helps, but then everybody could be a part of it, the naming process, and it's not just at a level that's out of their reach.
I don't find that to be unreasonable. Of course, I'm not the fiduciary lead, but I will bring that to them to add that in as a request from the board.
Yeah, it's just something to consider
Yes,
in terms of that, so being respectful of the process. But I think that will include, again, as we're talking about family and we are united, we want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to be a part of where we're going. Okay.
Ms. Ford?
Just a quick comment. I really appreciate the way that this was presented. I feel it's very well organized, and I appreciate that and the involvement of the board from the start, so thank you.
Ms. Resh?
Okay,
Oh,
thank
sorry.
you. First of all, I'm really excited that this is happening. I know how important the Health Careers Academy is to so many kids at San Marcos, and I can't think of two better people to be here representing it than you. But I just had a quick question. Are the names also going to be in Spanish?
You mean like when they're on displayed?
Yeah.
If Where applicable,
Okay.
yes. It depends on the name, right? Like a family
Right.
name may not necessarily need a translation, but a organization name, if it's X organization, that can be translated into Spanish, yeah, absolutely.
Right, just for accessibility
Yeah, absolutely,
purposes.
yes.
That's it. Thank you so much.
That's a great question.
Ms. Capps?
Yeah, I just appreciate the opportunity to see this moving forward. Again, I think you can feel the excitement from the board and the way that we've been informed in the public and being as transparent as possible as you are today with these naming possibilities and the different tiers will save any confusion down the line as we've experienced in the past. So thank you so much. Look forward to it.
And to that, I will also mention that the RPF and the Building Wellness Campaign Committee has been meeting with members of the Santa Barbara Foundation and other groups that have completed capital campaigns. Since this is the first the Rural Pride Foundation will be working on, first of many is my hope, will be working on in their existence. They've learned from previous campaigns and plan to continuously communicate with the board as the donations and the naming opportunities are processed. And we actually have one waiting in the wings, waiting for your approval today for us to actually have the first one actually happen. So it's pretty exciting.
Exciting. Thanks.
Thank you so much for your presentation and your availability to answer questions. I attended the Health Careers Academy celebration and am very excited about this as I'm in the health profession myself and such, and thank you so much for all your collaboration. Now we will move. Oh, yes, of course, Dr. Maldonado.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we will be also holding a health careers industry convening with College Hospital. We're working on an invitation for local health organizations to meet with us, with Principal Holdre, with Dr. Alvarez, and the teachers at the Health Careers Academy, so we can learn more about the jobs that are currently in need in the health industry. We've also had some outreach from the city fire chief, who's talking to us about possibly also adding a career pathway for paramedics, because we know that there's a great need in our community for a variety of jobs that we can prepare students for. So that will be coming up that'll be happening in the next couple of weeks. In relationship to how we raise funds for this, we want it to be this partnership with who the children are actually going to end up working for. So that's in the works, and I want to thank again our school site administrators for that collaboration. Thank you.
Can I just add a ECE request that as you're meeting with the local providers, that, you know, pathway for pediatricians, for looking at our youngest folks as part of the careers. I know you do have, it's an early care education part that they're in the early care education field already, but it would be something to, if they could be pediatricians being grown here as well. So.
And
if I may just very briefly also say, especially to cabinet members who are also new to this project itself, we will also be addressing the wellness part of it. Besides building the Health Careers Academy, is also building a wellness center to help address mental health and a pathway or some sort of connection from the Health Careers Academy to mental health wellness in part of this project as well. So we're hitting a few things around health and wellness, and it's really exciting. So thank you for the opportunity.
Great. I'd certainly like to, just in terms of that, have county behavioral wellness included in that, Santa Barbara County and SenCal Health, my daytime job, where we do have also the health and the mental health, the behavioral health piece. So that would be great.
So I did have that conversation with the county CEO yesterday, and they're in the queue as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. So now we will, consider the, in terms of item F1, board members, do I have a motion to approve this item?
Move approval of San Marcos Wellness Facility naming opportunities. Just move approval.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Now, Dr. Becchio, we will move on to approval of reclassification of the Director of Special Education.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Superintendent Maldonado. Good evening, board members. Congratulations, Kavya. I'm bringing this item before you tonight. And as stated in the short summary report that I provided, we're seeking approval from the board for the reclassification of the current Director of Special Education position. And the rationale for it really is, I'll describe it two ways to just summarize. One is the level of work that we're asking from our director in terms of the sophistication around budgeting, compliance, also legal issues, the interaction, regular interaction with the Board of Education in both open and closed session, and also the second item is the need for us to have this position be a permanent member of executive cabinet. So for those two reasons, we feel like the classification will be appropriate as an executive director. It would properly compensate that position, and I'll leave you with that. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to entertain those questions at this time before you consider the item.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Becchio. Seeing that there's no public comment on this item, board members? Ms. Sims-Moten?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Becchio. So seeing the rationale and understanding that, the need to have that there. So on the fiscal part, is that part of the budget ongoing? Will it be part of the budget? Is it part of the budget now, or did we have to add to it in order to make this change?
That would be part of the budget ongoing. So it is an increase. Although we still have two executive director positions, and we previously had two, so it's kind of a wash there. But yeah, that would be an ongoing budget increase.
An increase,
Yep,
right, from what we had, so
increase.
ongoing. So is it budgeted for this year?
It would. I don't believe it's budgeted this year this year. It would be pending board approval.
So we'd be doing a budget to add it?
Yes.
Okay. And then we would see that as an ongoing piece? Okay.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Ford?
Just an appreciation to Dr. Becchio for looking out for the changing aspects of responsibilities and duties of our leaders, and I think this is a great idea, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, board members, do I have a motion to approve the action agenda item number 2?
So moved.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Becchio. Now we will go to, the item number 3 is going to be pulled from for today for the meeting, and then we're going to go to number 4, the approval of the administrative hearing panels. Panel members for the 2022-2023 school year. Okay, thank you, Ms. Edison.
All right. So this might be a new item, but it's not a new task. As you know, the board can hear expulsion hearings directly, or you can appoint an administrative hearing panel or hire a hearing officer. It is a practice that we utilize administrative hearing officers panels in this district, which is at any certificated staff. Our practice have been all of admin. So this is an ed code requirement that requires the board appoint the administrative hearing panel. So this is just a normal course of work.
Okay, seeing that there's no public comment on this item, board members, any questions or concerns? Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Edison. Do I have a motion to approve this item? Sorry. Ms. Ford.
Happy to make the motion to approve the appointment of administrative hearing panel members for the 22-23 school year.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, passes unanimously. So we will now go to board action on item 5.
We ready, Ms. Capps?
I am ready.
It is great joy and honor to see these kids coming back to readmit to back into regular school. That says that they've done the work and they're ready to commit it to go forward. So it's always a pleasure and joy to be able to read these actions. So move approval in the case of 202122-3 for readmit.
And I second.
Okay, please raise your hand and say aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so passes unanimously. Try to get out of the summer mode here. Number 6, and Ms. Sims-Moten, thank you for helping with these.
Yes, in the case of 202122-04, move approval of reentry.
And I second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Number 7.
In the case of 202122-10, move approval for reentry.
And I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. In the case of 202122-13, move approval for reentry.
And I second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Passes unanimously. No, that's next. Number 8, right? Because we just did 7.
Yeah.
So number 8.
3, 4, I have,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Are we good? Good? Okay. What I'm having is in front of us so that we're clear, we have what's on the papers here. And it's also here, so maybe there's misnumbered, I'm not sure. So we want to clear that up. So Ms. Ford, where are you getting 7 and 9? I didn't have one.
I'm sorry if I may interrupt.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
You skipped number 8, so you need to call number 8. You did number 9.
Yes. Okay. That's what I have next here. Okay. All right. So good thing, in the Lord, in the case of 202122-11, move approval for reentry.
And I second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously.
Okay. Now we on track here?
10.
10. Okay, I'm looking at case numbers. You guys are looking at items. So that's where we go.
I
So
see.
trust me, I got this on this 202122-14, move approval for reentry.
And I second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Okay, passes unanimously.
Okay. In the case of 202122-16, move approval for reentry.
And I second.
All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes unanimously.
In the case of 202122-17, move approval for reentry.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? You know the
Aye.
drill?
Aye.
Aye.
In the case of 202122-26, move approval for reentry.
And I second.
All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes unanimously.
In the case of 202122-27, move approval for reentry.
And I second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Did we get everybody readmitted?
Passes unanimously.
All right, there we go.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Sims-Moten, and all of you too, my sister board members here. Now we'll go to number 15, approval of Insight Education Group request. Mr. Vance?
Good evening, President Munoz, board members, and Dr. Maldonado, Cabinet. It's my pleasure to bring to you tonight the Rfp Selection Committee's recommendation to select the Insight Education Group's request for proposal to implement the racial climate assessment and analysis for our district. With the board's guidance and our district's combating anti-blackness working group, a request for proposal, also known as an RFP, process was put into place to retain a firm outside of the Santa Barbara community to conduct an assessment and analysis of the racial climate. First and foremost, I want to thank Anna Pillhofer, who's the Director of Equity and EML Services, who oversaw this and took the lead on getting this implemented and pushing it across the finish line. So I want to thank her for that. The RFP was publicly released on May 17th. The design of the RFP process was based upon the U.S. Department of Ed's Promised Neighborhood grants in that process. The submission window closed on July 8th. We had 9 proposals submitted from organizations outside of Santa Barbara County from all across the United States. We had the Rfp Selection Committee, which consisted of various district stakeholders, and many of them participated in combating anti-blackness working group meetings that we were holding. So with that being said, I want to just thank the board or the committee members who participated. So thank you, Kavya. And I'd like to thank Stuki Hernandez, Ariel Curry, Alexandra Tashma, Kenya Edison, Suzette McCormick, Sochi Tafoya, and again, Anna Pillhofer was helping facilitate that, as well as myself. I facilitated the review process. Just so you know, a rubric and scoring process was in place and developed to be used by the committee. So it was, the rubric was designed to take the key elements that was recommended by the anti-blackness working group. So we took those key elements, created a rubric, created the RFP, and then we had everything in place as we sent it out to the community and came back. The committee members reviewed and read each one of the 9 proposals and then scored each of those proposals and then submitted the scores to Ms. Pillhofer. The committee met on Thursday, July 28th to review it. We met here in the boardroom and we reviewed all the scores. We went through a following process to break down each of the groups, the 9 proposals, and ultimately we came to the conclusion that the proposal from Insight Education Group was the top proposal by far. So with that said, the Rfp Selection Committee recommends to the board tonight to approve Insight Education Group to implement the racial climate assessment and analysis for Santa Barbara Unified School District. And that's the end of my report.
Okay, seeing that there's no public comment, board members, Ms. Ford?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vince. I'm looking at the rubric, and I appreciate that you shared that with all of us. I'm just wondering if you could be more specific and tell us some information about what made Insight get a higher score on the rubric. What was it?
Well, what's great, I will tell you that. What's great, I have Kavi here who was there to confirm that as well. What we noticed with this organization, they actually wrote the request for proposal specifically for Santa Barbara Unified School District. We noticed that some of the proposals had language in there, but there was some cut and paste, so there were like mistakes with other school districts being mentioned. So we noticed specifically that they were actually addressing the community, and they understood our needs. So they really did the research with that. Another thing is they came and they provided evidence of the work they have done with other school districts. So this is not the first time they're doing this type of work. We actually had strong recommendations from those school districts. I know that some of the committee members actually followed up to make sure that the recommendations were coming from school districts. So it was by far the strongest proposal that was submitted to us.
Thanks. And what's the next step? Should this board approve this
So
proposal?
the next step is, actually, I took one step before I brought it to the board, is just to make sure that if you approve this step, that the organization is still ready to take action and work with us. They are. So if you approve this, we will go back to the organization and we'll have a couple of meetings with them specifically. We'll have an informal meeting either by the end of this week or the beginning of next week, and then we'll have a more formal meeting to sketch out the work, to develop the plan. They will provide a specific contract to us, and then we will bring the contract to you to be approved. Once that contract is approved, then we will implement the process or the audit.
Thanks. And just one more comment you kind of alluded to. In my conversation today with Kavya and Isabella, we were talking about ways to engage students more in district committees. So I was wondering if you would mind just expressing kind of what the experience was like for you.
Yeah, definitely. I was actually going to raise my hand to give a comment. I first want to thank you, Mr. Benz, for giving me this space and giving me the honor and privilege of being able to be on the selection committee. And for me as a student, I was honestly a little bit intimidated at first, right? There's a lot of language and a lot of behind the scenes work that goes into things like this that a lot of us as teens aren't really fully proficient in. And even myself as someone who's been really privileged to have the education and resources that have allowed me to participate in discussions that are more advanced, it's still been some, there's a kind of power dynamic that can make it a little bit intimidating as a student to be part of these kinds of committees and be part of these groups. But upon entering the space, I felt completely welcomed. I felt completely appreciated, and I was actually given so many opportunities to speak and add my input. I completely felt that it was an educational experience for me, but I also felt so valued and appreciated there as someone who was part of the group. And I really felt like everyone was just thinking about the students the whole time, which I think is really where it's important that we remain grounded, is in doing work for the students and thinking about how are we going to benefit the students, not just that are in our schools now, but the students to come, definitely. And if I could just add one thing that made Insight stand out is, though we need to promote a culture of diversity, equity, and inclusion across all our schools, across all our issues, we are talking about anti-Blackness, and we are talking about naming an issue that has plagued our community, our state, our country for centuries. And it's not enough to, use that umbrella term of diversity, of equity, of inclusion, of anti-racism when we're specifically speaking about anti-Blackness. And I think it's time that we name it and we call it as it is. And that's something that we really wanted to emphasize, is that we are not brushing this issue under the rug and that we are taking adequate measures to address the severity and depth of this issue in our district. So thank you again, Mr. Benz, and thank you to Ms. Pilhofer, who's not here right now. But I had an incredible experience, and I can't wait to see the transformational change that the district makes as hopefully a result of participating in this.
Thank you so much. Ms. Sims-Moten?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Vance, for this presentation, and thank you, Kavya, for that report. And thank to the other additional committee members who are not here today, but thank you for the work, and also the Anti-Blackness, combating Anti-Blackness Committee. I'm glad that you spoke about that DEI is not the umbrella in which we're going to do this work. that is just an acronym, but the work that's going to happen becomes Santa Barbara Unified. We are diverse, and when you look, when you come and you participate, and that's what, it doesn't have to be named, it's what it is. It's not a window dressing, it's not a check off the box, but it is what we do and what we're going to continue to work off and work toward, and that's when we become transformational in terms of how we are as a district. A couple of questions. Wow, you had 9 proposals and 1 rose above. Was there anybody close, or I'm just wondering?
We had a close. Close is relative. So I do mean that this proposal was head and shoulders above the rest of them. We did have a fallback. So if this was not going to work out with the organization, we did have a number 2 that would have worked with us and would have worked well, but we're excited that they're willing to take this on, this work. So.
And I guess I was expecting to see, as it coming to the board for approval, I guess I was expecting to see the proposal before us today, or is it ever going to come before us? Or, I mean, not that I don't appreciate the work that was done, but this is critical in understanding what this company is, what they're bringing, how they got there. I just see a report. I think I was expecting at least a proposal, that they presented.
So yesterday I did talk to the organization about this and said that there would be a potential of showing the proposal. Another thing that I know that the Department of Ed in DC, that once they approve the proposal and once the request for proposal process has cooled down a little bit, they actually will publicly display proposals. I'm not suggesting that, but I do think that we can show you the proposal and make it public upon approval of the proposal.
Okay, and just a clarification, you say Department of Ed is this not our contract?
No, sorry, I'm conflating two things.
Okay.
We took the proposal process from the U.S. Department of Education.
Okay.
Yeah, so from
Okay,
the
I was like, wait a
Promised
minute.
Neighborhood
Okay.
grant process.
So
Yeah.
you took that process as a model?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, and can you remind me of what goal 3 on the LCAP is? Because it said that this is meeting that, aligning with that goal, this proposal or this work. Can you remind me what that goal 3 is?
It's actually, I'll paraphrase it. It's actually working on the community and climate within schools in terms of equity, the equity work with our students and staff. So.
Okay, yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing that proposal before are we approving, just to be clear, what are we approving tonight?
Approving that we go ahead and move forward with this organization to start the planning process and then bring to you ultimately the contract for approval.
Okay, and is it possible, I don't know where this group is located, is it possible for them to come and speak before the board?
Yes, so they have an office in Encino.
Okay.
So that's a possibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that's something they would consider, that would be great to have them come to at least talk to us before the board in terms of that, see who we're approving to come forward. This is a very critical issue, and we want to make sure that we get it right.
And sorry to interrupt, and
No.
I did talk to the co-founder, and he said specifically that he would be happy to drive up and report to us.
That's great. I am looking forward to this work. We've got some work to do. I don't, not to be taken lightly. I'm glad that we're moving forward, but I know that we got some work to do, and I want to make sure that we're doing it, and we're not taking it as, again, a tick off of something. That this has to be an internal cultural change, and this is a step toward doing that. I know that you know that, but I needed to just, I just needed to say it again, because just how critical and just how hard this has been, and so our way forward is that we make it a part of who we are again as a district. So I really appreciate that. Looking forward to, and I see the committee did some hard work, as Kavya has said. So I'm looking forward to that, and I want to say thank you again to the community and those who worked on this as well.
Okay, Mr. Resh?
I just wanted to read goal 3 from the LCAP, which is build capacity in the schools and district to improve student equity, engagement, and outcomes, create and cultivate culturally sustaining school communities, achieve equitable student outcomes and cultural proficiency through ethnic studies courses, nurture and improve the holistic well-being, sense of belonging, and academic outcomes of students.
Thank you for that. And I'm wondering, as we get through this audit, that how what may come out of that may expand upon that goal, because I know there's room to expand on what the outcomes of that can be. So I think those were my questions. Oh, I did have one question. Because there were 9 proposals and we pretty much you're bringing forth this one, do we have appeal process? We don't have to worry about people appealing that they didn't get, do we have a process should someone want to appeal the decision?
We did not put an appeal process in place.
Okay.
What we did was we actually created a process so if people had questions that we just followed the specific process in terms of they would contact Ms. Pilhofer, and then once they asked a question, then we publicly presented the question on the board so that everything was transparent during this time of the RFP or submitting the RFP.
Yeah, I just want us to make sure we're covering every base here so
Right.
that we can get started. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And board members, do I have a motion on this item?
So moved.
Okay, a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item passes unanimously. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Betts. So now we will go to G, report and discussion agenda, filling a board seat vacancy. And Mr. Vance.
Good evening, board members. So I bring to you this report this evening to discuss Trustee Cap's transition. So congratulations. Your transition to the Board of Supervisors. And so we wanted to discuss the choices that you have before you. And I did bring in Craig Price, so if you have additional questions tonight, we could bring up Craig to answer those questions. Let's see, do we have the slide deck? Thank you. If you want to go to the next slide. So upon submitting your letter of resignation, Laura, you will actually implement the process of going through and determining which, I should say, the board would actually be determining which process that you would like to take for filling the empty board seat. So either you do that by order of an election, so it's either a special election process or provisional appointment. And of course, based on the Ed Code 5091, you'll have 60 days to actually fill the vacancy if you decide to go through the provisional appointment process. Next slide. If you decide to do a special election to fill the seat, of course we'll be working closely with the county's registrar's office with the special election. The election will be held spring of 2023. It is funded by our school district. That's important to know. The funding is based upon the total number of citizen voting population, and approximately that is what you see there. It's over 100,000 voters. So the cost of it for our school district is anywhere between, it's almost $1 million. So next slide. If you decide to go through the provisional appointment process, you would vote on that. So you would vote as a board to take this path, as well as you would select a candidate information form. Once that's in place, you send out notices to the local media. You'll just be notifying everybody of the opening and making sure people are able to submit their candidate information form. The forms have a specific deadline and they can be submitted basically by email, fax, mail, and so on. The board can and possibly may want to select an ad hoc committee if you have an extensive number of applicants. The committee would actually do the process of going through and vetting the applicants, and then out of that large group, they would submit a smaller group to the whole board to do this next process, which is selecting. You would have a special board meeting, and at the board meeting, you would interview the selected candidates. And that would be done at an open public session. You also have, as board members, you'll have a right to appoint that evening, or you can defer the appointment and set up another special board meeting to actually do the appointment at that time if you need to do so. Under the Ed Code 5092, once you've made the decision and you have the person appointed, then the appointment will be posted in the newspaper and then at a minimum of 3 public sites. Once it's posted, we have 30 days. And within those 30 days, a filing of a petition calling for a special election could actually shift it to a special election, but you have to have a petition in place to do that. If a petition is not filed within the 30 days, the appointment becomes official at that time. So, and with that, that's my report to you.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Vance, just for me,
Yes.
for my hearing, can you repeat the last sentence? If appointment is not made within 30 days, did you
So
say?
it's not the appointment. So if a petition comes within 30 days and it's asking for a special election, then we have to go through that process. But if a petition does not come to the board, then the appointment then becomes official on the 31st day.
And just one question I know on my part is that it's my understanding that it's too late for this to be included in the November election.
That's correct. Yes.
And what would have been the, yeah.
I'm going to ask Craig to come up here.
This more for, pardon?
It's good to clarify. I intend to serve out my role till the very last moment before I take on the new role as county supervisor, and these schools are where my heart is, so I look forward to being a strong partner, not just this district, but all districts in the county role. But I intend to serve out till the very last day here in the Santa Barbara Unified School District, so I have not yet resigned.
Okay.
Thanks.
Good point. Thank you, Ms. Capps.
Hello. So with that clarification, the answer to your question is that with Ms. Capps' clearly stated intention, it would not have been possible to have her successor appointed this November. There isn't any other choice. And some time ago, Mr. Vince and my office went through those various options to be as sure as we can. One point of clarification, I think you're all aware, but that Ms. Capps' term extends for 2 more years. And despite the redistricting that occurred, that cannot affect the term of an incumbent, which means specifically that whoever it is that seeks to be appointed, should your board want to go in that direction, can be from anywhere in the district. However, in considering such an appointment, you may very well want to have a preference for somebody that comes from Area 2 so that they can be representative and at the same time potentially qualify for re-election in 2024. These procedures that Mr. Venz was discussing, for the most part, they're all set out in your board policy, 9223, so you can always look to that. And I know Ms. Capps just said she's intending to serve out basically until the last minute. Should she want to, she doesn't have to wait until the 23rd hour to turn in a resignation, because she can submit a resignation that would have a deferral date that would be no more than 60 days in the future. And of course, the resignation becomes effective once it's actually submitted to the county superintendent of schools.
Excellent, thank you. And I forgot to mention, that my understanding that there's no public comment on this item. And Ms. Sims-Moten?
Yes, so thank you for that, clarifying all that again. Congratulations. As we moved on in 2016, we were involved in the process of appointing when Ms. Limon was successful in her Senate bid. I do have a question, which since some of the processes that you set out is in our board process, so we have some flexibility on what we can say as part of our appointment provisions. Yes or no? And I'll say what I'm saying. I think it's really important that before someone becomes part of the school board, that I feel that it should be mandated that they get CSB training ahead of that, because to really understand what's going on here at this dais, sometimes by the time, if you're appointed, even elected, and you've come here for the first time, it's almost too late by the time you go to the conference. And I think we owe it to our students, to our administration, to this district, to be the best representative that we can. And so I think if mandated doesn't mean that it has to be free. Mandated doesn't mean that it has to cost anything. It can be free, but I want to share this out and talk this through our board. I think it's really important that I would have wanted that as a candidate that's coming, that before you even finish your candidate form, that you have gone to this training to get information about what it is to be a board member, because oftentimes there's blurred roles. You don't really understand. You perhaps are in a campaign mode saying what I will do, when in fact it's a whole board that essentially makes a decision. So I don't know if we could add that as a provision, because it is a board policy as opposed to an ed code. But that is something I would certainly want to add, certainly even for the discussion with this board. I think we owe it to be the best informed and the best leaders that we can, and that would certainly help.
There's no reason why you cannot augment the application process to require that. Obviously, should you wish to do so, you would want to take that step and announce it well ahead, so that the potential candidates would have time before having to fill out the application.
Yeah, I made it, this is good, timely conversation as to Ms. Capps. I'm here to the very end, so that gives us time to, if we should decide as a board to go that and add that we can maybe talk to CSBA as something that we want to come here. To do that, I just really feel strongly that that's a good idea to be able to import that, because I know I want to be a best representative, and sometimes it is confusing, ed code, all those different things, but the better we are performed when we get here, the better we're going to be able to lead.
Dr. Maldonado?
I'm happy to reach out to CSBA and inquire about that, but I also want to mention that at one of our county superintendent's meeting, Dr. Salcido has announced that she is preparing some of those trainings for all school districts in Santa Barbara County and potential candidates. So I'll do both and bring back this board the information on both entities that can provide that training.
Yeah, I think that they do that. And again, it's just for board discussion. I would like to see it mandated. The training before I'm going to be a candidate for school board. I have attended this training. It says that much, and it's certainly open for board discussion.
I would just add that there are qualifications to be a candidate, all the things that you would imagine set forth in the education code. Right? You have to be a registered voter, you have to be 18 years of age, and so on. But under your board policy, you can impose an additional requirement, as long as you do so with sufficient notice.
So again, I would just open that up for discussion. I just think it will make us a better board. It would just clarify a whole lot of things that sometimes get in the mix when we are not fully aware of what our roles are until after you're here. And sometimes that's too late, particularly in this climate that we're in. I would much be better. And, we're going to have a shift in this board. Hopefully people are coming back. We're definitely going to have a shift here. So I want to make us the best that we can be as leaders and the best informed in terms of that.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sims-Moten. Discussion? Ms. Ford?
I think it's a great suggestion. I will say that in our governance handbook, we do address it. We do say that we are going to invite school board candidates to orientation meeting. And so perhaps it can be more specific and say that if you are interested, you must attend this meeting. And this meeting would include CSBA materials, a general overview of the governance handbook and calendar, board meeting dates, and everything related to the district.
Yeah, I just want to put the word mandate in there, that however we do that. But yeah.
Right, I certainly agree with this concept and mandating that, because for that, we know someone who is prepared and has an understanding of what to expect, and as part of the application process. Ms. Ford?
So I'm assuming here, I hope I'm correct, that this is information, but that the board has to make a decision. And so I just want to say to my fellow board members that I'm in favor of provisional appointment. I think that it is, I cannot with good heart ask our district to pay almost $1 million for an election.
I certainly agree with that, and that's why I wanted to clarify, that that it would not be able to be on any upcoming regularly scheduled election, and that I feel like it would also be irresponsible for us to spend money on an election for that purpose.
So will it be on the next board agenda?
We could certainly have that on there. That's what I was just about to also suggest.
Yes, I'll take direction from the board. Sandra's pulling up the board policy now, but I can certainly put it on the next agenda for discussion. And just clarification, would you like to have us have a committee that works on the language that makes a change to the language to the current board policy to include the mandated training, and that's what we would bring to the board next? Is that how you're thinking about it? Or are you thinking that you want to do it during the meeting where you're amending the language to the board policy?
The first thing I think, once we bring it back, that we're voting at, yes, we want to be provisional.
We still have to approve the appointment.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me clarify. There's two things happening here. I was talking about amending the board policy to include mandated training, but you're talking about bringing to next meeting the vote for the provisional assignment.
Yes.
So two things. Am I clear that the board direction is that I'm bringing, excuse me, two things at the next board agenda, which one is the vote for the provisional assignment, and the second one is to amend the language in our board policy for the mandated training. Is that accurate?
Yes.
That is,
we can do
for
it.
me,
Yeah.
Wendy, you're fine with going forward with the appointment process?
Oh, I was always fine with that. I just want to make sure that mandate was there.
Because then
Yeah.
we don't have to have much discussion
Right, we
about
don't.
that one
Yeah.
at the next board meeting.
Yeah. And we can work on the language, Ms. Ford, so that we have that ahead of time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we will go back to the action agenda for the item, for the item number 6, approval of the 45-day budget update from Ms. Hernandez.
Okay, hopefully they'll be able to find it on number 6. Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay, hello again, board members and Dr. Maldonado. This is the 45-day update to the governor's, well, it's actually now the final state budget. Next slide, please. So what happens is when we do our adopted budget and you approve it in June, it's based on the governor's May revise, but it's not the final for the state, Because what happens is both the legislative houses have their own proposed budgets, and so once you get to the end of the year, there's a little bit of negotiations that goes on there, and then finally a budget is signed. So once the governor signs the budget on, this time it happened on June 27th, we're required to come back within 45 days, and that fits right in line here with our meeting that we're having now, to discuss what changes that have happened in the budget that might actually affect our school budget, school district's budget. So next slide, please. There you go. So the first one is, in the May revise, there was a very good, very large discretionary block grant that for us, we did the math, and it was about $17 million that would be coming towards Santa Barbara Unified. And it was discretionary. It meant kind of we could spend it without a lot of provisions on it. But what happened now in the state budget is that was taken out and 2 other block grants were put in. So this is the first one. It's the largest of the 2 for $15.1 million that was estimated by school services for us. And it does have, it's the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant. And it does have some restrictions to it. It's not fully discretionary. And so these are the things that we can use the money on. Increase or stabilize our instructional learning time, decrease or stabilize staff to pupil ratios, so that's those lower class sizes that we've talked about before, close the learning gaps, pupil supports to address other barriers to learning, instruction for credit deficient students, and additional academic services. Those are pretty much what we can use it on, but those are very, very big things that we can do. So this is really great. And it also is going to be extended over a few years, so up to December 1st, 2027. We will have to do some expenditure reporting on this, saying how we are spending the money. Okay, so next slide. The second grant that was included is called the Arts, Music, Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant. For us, it was calculated to be about $7.6 million. So if you add the 2 grants together, it's more than the $17 million that we had included in our adopted budget. So it's actually better for us, which is great. These are some of the things that we can use the money for. Operational costs, instructional materials, professional development related to arts, music, and other subject areas, materials and training related to improving school climate, develop diverse book collections, and expenses related to the COVID-19 pandemic. So these, again, are pretty broad items that we can use the money on. But one of the things about this is we do have to create a plan. And the plan has to be approved by the board before we can start spending the money. So that's one of the things that we will be bringing back to you. I'm assuming we'll have a plan together by first interim when we come back. Okay, next slide, please. So Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, ELOP, we had some money for this before, and we are getting more money, so this is excellent. This grant is to provide funding for after-school and summer school enrichment programs that focus on academic, social, emotional, and physical needs of the students. For us, the increase now is another almost $3.5 million. And we are providing expanded learning opportunities at every single one of our elementary schools starting this year. So the after-school programs are going to be at every single elementary school. And we're encouraged to partner with our local community-based organizations in doing so. Next slide, please. School nutrition. This one is just so near and dear to my heart. President Biden signed the Keep Kids Fed Act on June 25th. And what's great about that, that's the federal programs that have been extended to provide additional meal flexibilities for our schools. Because that was signed, We also had some extra funding that was coming to us from the state, so now this means that the state can reallocate some of that to other grants. What I want to say here is that any student at Santa Barbara Unified who wants a meal gets one, and not even just one, they can get two. Breakfast and lunch is provided to any student who wants one. They don't have to prove anything, they don't have to show anything, except sometimes they might have to show their little card when they go up to go through the line, but this means any student. And we also have some after-school programs, those ELOP and PEAK programs, tutoring programs at night, which means if our students are staying for those, they also can get dinner. So we are providing 3 meals a day to those students who need them. We also are going to be receiving a kitchen infrastructure grant. The bare minimum for that is $100,000. That'll help in our kitchens provide equipment or things that we might need. I don't know exactly how much that's going to be at this point, but we know it's minimum of $100K. And then the last one is for plant-based or restricted diet meals, scratch meals. These are our funding that's coming to our district. We're way ahead of the game on this one. We've been doing scratch meals for a long time. We always provide restricted diet meals for students who need it. We are also going to be working on trying to get more plant-based meals into our schools. We're going to have, don't tell anybody, meatless Mondays. That'll be real fun. So I'm just really excited about this. Next slide, please. This one, I don't have a lot of information as to how much money it's going to be, but there is going to be more funding that's put into for the educator workforce and support. So this extra funding is for teachers' grants, resources, extending the substitute teaching assignments for up to 60 days, and just you can see some of the things that they're going to put that towards, but we'll see how much money that comes to us for that. Next slide. Okay, so this is just kind of there you go. This is just kind of a summary of the different changes that have occurred. So the 17 million block grant comes out, but then we get the 15 million in one and 7.6 million in the other. We do have some additional home to school transportation increases, but we will, with that one, also have to do a plan showing what our transportation costs are. And if so, we should be able to get about $1 million extra, which would be great. And we talked about the ELOP and the other the nutrition increases. So those are those additions to the budget. But again, in a lot of those cases, once we get to first interim, I'll be showing you what the expenditures are once we have some of those plans in place. There are also some other possible increases. There's a dual enrollment expansion. The school facility program, we should receive some money for that, and we'll see what the educator workforce grants turn out to be. So these are just kind of the extras, and all told it's about $10 million extra dollars from the May revise, and we'll bring forward those expenditures and how we're going to spend that money in the next budget review. That's it.
Okay, seeing that there's no public comment on this item, board members, do you have any discussion on this? Ms. Sims-Moten?
Yes, thank you. This is good news. And I'm assuming that we're not having to apply for these funds. They're actually grant, and we don't have to apply for them. They're actually here. That's good to hear. And also, how this increase in funding impact our budget deficit?
Well, we'll have to see, because a lot of them will be ongoing funds. So anytime you carry over money from one year to the next, it looks like a deficit and may not actually be. So we're going to have to really make that clear as to what is truly a deficit and what is just carryover monies.
Right. So that's good. Thank you. And on that last slide where the home to school transportation increase in dollars, so is that the busing that we're having trouble getting? We're going to get more money, but we don't have the capacity to fill that, to do that? So
Right. So The way they're looking at that is, as long as you have had expenditures in transportation, and we still do, we still have, our different we've got the yellow buses, plus we have the cost for the MTD tickets that we purchase. So we just have to put together a plan that shows those expenditures that we have, and then supposedly we'll get additional funding on top of that.
Yeah, I know that we're working on that, and some of that's a lot of that's out of your control. Do we see any light at the end of the tunnel to help out with that, that busing?
Yes, actually, so we are looking at, there are more bus drivers that are actually in the pipeline getting trained right now, so that's all good news. And it looks like there's a potential that we might get actually 4 bus drivers for the start of the school year for the elementary schools. So we're working on that right now. That's very hopeful. It looks like that probably will happen. So that would mean that the 4 elementary schools who do normally have busing would have 1 school bus. Sometimes they require 2, but they would have 1. So we're going to have to really look at that of the students who ride the buses and make sure that those who really need to get on the bus are able to.
Great, thank you so much.
Ms. Ford?
Thanks. One question for Dr. Maldonado. I was wondering on the block grant that has been approved and a plan needs to be written and then approved by us. Do you have any idea who will be responsible for that?
We have had Mr. Vance handle those items for us, so we'll probably continue with Mr. Vance handling that.
Okay, great. Thank you. And if we could go back to the ELOP slide. All right. I was wondering if you could provide further clarification, because the first one says offer access to at least all TK through 6 unduplicated pupils in classroom-based instruction, and then the second one says provide access to at least 50% of enrolled TK through 6 unduplicated pupils. What's the difference?
So one is that you just are able to offer it, like we're offering this, and other is actually to provide it to at least 50% of it. But for us, we're providing it at all of our elementary schools. These are just the requirements from the CDE, is that you have to at least offer it to all the TK through 6 in a classroom-based instruction, and the other part is that you are required to provide it to at least 50% of them. So one is, since it's after school, a lot of it is, the after school, you just have to make sure that you offer it. I don't really, other than that, I don't really know much more about what that means.
Okay.
For us, we're providing it. So we're offering it and providing it at all of our elementary schools. Sure, if you have some more.
I worked with Kathy Serrano at the end of the school year, and with the ELOP money, we actually were able to create a program, after-school program, at 2 of our schools that haven't received an after-school program because they don't have ACES money. Yet we have Title I kids identified at these schools, school-wide Title I, right? So that would be Washington, Monroe, and Roosevelt. So for the first time, we'll be offering to those students a program. Yeah.
Okay, so if there's no further discussion, board members, do I have a motion on this item? Ms. Ford?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 45-day budget update.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. Okay, we will move to coming events. And let's see, I know one of the ones I was going to mention is, I believe it's August 24th, is the combating racism anti-blacklist meeting.
When is it?
And, pardon?
When is it coming?
August 24th,
Okay.
I believe, which is, and the time is it, sorry, I'm not, 5:30 is what I have on my calendar, correct? Okay, so 5:30. And any other coming events that folks would like to share?
And I just, we don't have it listed here because it's this week, but actually this week we will have the summer graduates. We want to make sure we celebrate those students as well. And then tomorrow we have the meet and greet event at the Historical Museum to meet our new leaders.
Yes.
Summer graduation is the 11th?
The 11th, at 6 p.m. Yes, looking forward to that. Anything else?
First day of school coming up.
Yes. Yes. Ms. Ford?
On the most recent invitation that we received to the summer graduation, it said 5:30. So I think we should clarify it, so none of us are late.
Dr. Sheffield, can you clarify for us?
I noticed the difference.
So just training.
It should start at 6 p.m., and the expectation is to show up early so that you can get seating and parking.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sheffield. Okay. Yes, and then our next board meeting is Tuesday, August 23rd, the regular board meeting at 5:30 here. And with that, unless there's anything else, we will go ahead and adjourn at a historic 7:45 p.m. Thank you.
That's worth the gavel.
Yes.